Wow. Just look at this thing. Look at all that grime, all that dirt. This little tractor definitely needs some taken care of. As helpful as this little tractor is around the house and around the neighborhood, I definitely need to take a little bit more care of it. So today I'm actually going to pressure wash it, grease it, check the fluids, and have it completely ready in case something else shows up. So this is a Branson 2400H, meaning hydrostatic. So if it wasn't hydrostatic, then it wouldn't be pretty much automatic. All you have to do is press the for reverse and this one for drive. And that's all it has is a high and low. All right, let's see what we got under the hood. Alrighty. So the battery posts don't look like they're in bad condition. We don't have any acid buildup, so that's good. We can check the air filter, see how we're doing there. Especially if you do brush cutting a lot, you got to check this filter out often. Let's see here. It's not too bad, but I could probably use a compressor to dust that off. The fluid, radiator fluid, looks like we're pretty close to being full, so I'm not going to be adding too much of that either. And then the motor oil. Today is going to be more of a quick little overview of the fluids that you have to be checking. I don't just do this one time every 2-3 months. I actually try to do this at least once a week, or every time that I try to turn on, I try to do a quick fluid check just to make sure everything's good before I go out and work outside on the farm or out to take a job. But I'm not going to go too much into depth, but I am going to show you where the location of things are. If you want a video of how to actually properly check the fluids, actually here in the next month or so, I actually have to change the fluid on everything, so we'll be showing you something more in depth. Today is more of a quick overall maintenance. So for example, here is your motor oil dipstick. Alright, let's see here. Not bad, not bad. See, it's all the way up here, so we're good on motor oil. Next one will be our hydrostatic oil back here. This is the dipstick on this side. Let's double check that one. I don't know if you can see, but we're actually right close to the second line. So this one's also pretty good right here. This one on this side is actually to control everything as far as your backhoe, your hydraulics in the front, and then we got one more oil we have to check. The last one you have to check is called front axle fluid. It actually uses gear oil. So then you dip it in there to check it. Make sure you give it a few turns. That way it goes down and touches how much fluid it has, alright? Alright, that's about right. That's the tricky part about this dipstick. You can't just dip it in there or else it'll show like it's low. There it is. It actually does have a little bit of oil right there, but we're not going to fill it up this moment because you want to be careful with this front axle fluid. If you put a little bit too much front axle fluid, then it actually busts the seal, so that's not good. You want to have just enough for the little dipstick that you get barely wet right there on the tip. So we know that it's good where it's at right now, so we're going to leave it there, not put any more, and then it end up causing too much pressure on it, right? So that's a quick overview of the things you got to at least check. It is your hydrostatic oil, your front axle gear oil, and then your motor oil. Those are the three things you got to check. And of course your air filter, every now and then dust it off. Use compressed air to blow it off a little bit. And now we're going to pressure wash it. After we pressure wash it, then we're going to go through there and grease our tractor. Finally bought myself a nice little pressure washer. You know, a pressure washer is always needed around the home, the homestead, the farm, whatever you may have. You definitely need a pressure washer, man. Last year I had to ask somebody to let me borrow the pressure washer so I can wash the side of my house, because I don't know if you have the same problem that I have, but every year there's always one side of the house that starts building up a little bit of like mold, a little bit of green on it, especially because my house is all white vinyl siding. Put some gas into this one. Gotta make sure we got plenty of gas. This one uses 100% pure gas. it doesn't have any kind of mixtures inside the gas. Alright. And like every engine, always check your oil before you start it up, right? Let's see where this one's at. Yep, we're good on this one as well. Alright. Not trying to advertise this little Husqvarna pressure washer, but it works really good. Watch. First you want to turn on your water. Make sure you get all the air out of your pressure washer. Come on. Because if you got too much air in it and you turn on the pressure washer, you'll start hearing it kind of bog down. So you got the water on. Seems like there's no air stuck in the line. So now we're going to turn it on. Oh, my mistake. There it is. Told you it builds up a little bit of air. Alright. It's a little bit better now. Now we go to immediately turn off the water. So that way we don't bust any seals on that pressure washer. As soon as you turn off the water immediately. That way there's nothing build up on it. And then release the pressure in your hose, alright? Now comes the fun part of greasing our tractor. Let me show you the various points that it has to grease. And then after that, we'll time lapse it real quick, me going through and greasing all of them, because it does take a little bit of time, especially because I have a hand pump greaser. I don't have an electric one yet, alright? See, that's why it's good to pressure wash it first, so you can make sure you clean it out, all those pockets real good, and your greaser doesn't have a hard time being inserted in there. So I know some people are hesitant about buying the backhoe attachment with your tractor. Believe me, even though it is an extra $3,000 to $5,000, I very much recommend that backhoe. Then you got another one here. Unfortunately, it looks like we didn't clean that one out real good, but that's why when you're gonna grease, always carry around a little flathead screwdriver to clean out where you missed the spot. And that's probably why I wouldn't be able to have a pressure washing business, because I'll miss a few spots like this one. Then you got the obvious ones right here, because those help your backhoe go to the left and to the right. You got one on this side. You got another one on the opposite side, of course. Then you got one on your main that also pivots. And then you have some on your jacks. Definitely gotta grease the one on your jacks. This one, only when the jack comes down will it actually tip upward. But then you got the main ones down here. This one, and of course you have the same thing on the other jack. You have one on the outside, then you have one up top. Alright, and that pretty much does it for the back end of the tractor. That's all the little grease spots. Moving forward, we have the front lift, this one right here, this one right here. We got another one on the other side of the cylinder, another one up top, another one down bottom, right here for the pivot points of the bucket, right there. And of course, it's going to match up with the opposite side, having the same exact thing on your cylinders, right there. Now the tricky ones that you may not be aware of, I'm about to show you those next. It really just is two of them that are a little bit hidden from plain sight, which is, you can see this one right here, right there, and then of course there's one on the other side right here. All right, and those are about it, guys. So you gotta go through there, grease them all. Make sure you always look on the opposite side of where you're greasing at to see if the grease starts coming out, because sometimes some people have the habit of just keep on pumping until they actually see it come out of the grease port itself, but that's not the case. The case is, I'll show you this one, and then we'll get started on our time lapse. We're in there, start pumping. So you put plenty of pressure on it. See that? See right here? That's where it started coming out. That's a good thing, because all we're trying to lubricate is this pin right here. If I would have just got this full of grease, that wasn't going to do any good. We got to make sure the grease comes out the side. Sometimes it requires a little bit more pressure, especially these little buttons right here. You got to really press down with your greaser to get through there. All right, always carry a rag with you because there's going to be grease everywhere. All right. So there it is, guys. This little subcompact tractor is ready to go. We already pressure washed it. We checked the fluids. We greased the fittings. We got it all ready so we can get out there and get some work done. But there is one extra little tip that I wanted to give you guys, all right? For the most part, this little tractor has been really reliable. I've taken it out on different jobs. I've worked around the farm. It has already 300 plus hours, and I've had probably 2 to 3 issues with it. Number one issue that I've had with it is actually that the motor started leaking oil. I was afraid that it was the actual pan itself, but when I took it to the place that I bought it from, they took it apart and they found out that it was actually just a bolt on the pan that was leaking. They took it off, put I think some sealant on the bolt, tightened it back up, and it was good to go. So I got really lucky on that one. It was actually for free because it was still under warranty, and it really was nothing for them to fix other than just tighten up that bolt. So that one was good. The second issue that I've had is actually very simple issue that I'm gonna show you, and this is a good example because once again it has fallen. See this right here, all this little beam is for whenever you decide to take off your overall front bucket loader, then you can use these as little stands. There's one on each side, and all they use is little butterfly nuts on it. That's all they use on it to hold it up, and sure enough they tend to come off like this one. Now I gotta use a regular nut to hold it up. This one's doing fairly well. Well, it's actually a little loose on this side, so I can tighten it up. So I gotta tighten those up. The reason I say that's an issue is because it has happened before that everything looks good while I'm driving. All of a sudden I go to lift up my front bucket. When I lift up my front bucket, one of those little bars come down, and when they come down and I don't catch it in time, this will actually slide over and it'll hit right here. I don't know if you can see that it has a very light dent on this side. Actually a bigger one on that side, but yeah, so that's an issue. That's something you got to watch out for when you're down. Check those bolts, make sure that they're nice and tight, because it can give you a little bit of issue later on during a job. All right, one more little thing, and I think is the most important. All right, check this before you go out to do a job or before you work out on the farm. All right, these subcompact tractors have the handbrake right here. Right, when you pull it upward, it actually locks. That little gold or brass plated rod down there has one on this side, and if you can see, it has another one on this side. You see that one right there. So the issue that you get with this right here is that sometimes, check it out, it's an issue right now. You see how loose this cable is right here? That's not a good thing. What that basically means is that your brake right now is actually engaged. Even though you might have it in the downward position, your brake right now is actually engaged, and your light doesn't show up that is engaged. Alright, so if you go around to this side, you will see that I've already had it work on this side. This little bolt here, of course, didn't come when I bought it. I actually had to put it in there because while I was out doing a job, this little thing came off, and I could feel that my tractor was a little bit more bogged down, and I couldn't figure out why. So yes, you got to make sure those bolts are nice and tight. What's that chicken doing over here? What are you doing? Goldilocks? That's her name, Goldilocks. Yeah, double check your equipment before you go out and do a job, because it has happened to me that in the middle of it, something falls off and all of a sudden you're wasting 30 minutes to an hour figuring out what it is. If you know your equipment prior to that, then when it happens, you are already prepared to fix it. For example, that bolt right there. And right now, I'm gonna have to go in there and see why that cable is a little bit too loose. I actually drove this tractor over this way and it didn't feel that bad, but I really want to make sure that my brakes aren't even the slightest bit engaged, because then I can wear them out. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for coming by, checking out our little subcompact tractor. It really has done a really good job for us. If you're in the market of buying one, I highly suggest you get, at a minimum, a 2400 horsepower tractor. If you can afford it, go ahead and go a little bit bigger. But if you are barely starting, something that size really does get the job done. I got 5 acres, and honestly, it has came in handy so much, because if you check out the videos in our YouTube channel, you can actually see it's done so much around the farm. So once again, thank you for coming by. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and until next time, get out there and have fun.